Falling Together stars two Hallmark veterans, Ashley Williams and Paul Campbell. Ashley Williams' character, Natalie, leaves her home in Miami to start a new job in Pittsburgh. And while she loves her new home, she notices right away that none of her new neighbors get along with each other. That bothers her because her old neighbors back in Miami were all a close-knit community, and she wants the same experience in Pittsburgh. The movie is all about her desire to recreate that sense of community among her new neighbors. She enlists the help of Paul Campbell's character Mark, despite his own desire to keep to himself. But how she goes about it? Well, let's just say it turns out she's a bit of a busybody, and Mark and the rest of the new neighbors are, shall we say, resistant to accept her pushiness toward togetherness. And despite all of this, she still makes time to volunteer to raise money for a cure to end Alzheimer's disease. So how does it all work out? Well, as usual, I've got a lot to say about it, so let's dive right in and get to it. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and this is the Magical Movie Club, a place to come and chat about everything Hallmark movies. After last week's debacle, I'm happy to say this week's premiere was much improved. I can't deny, though, that at first I wasn't sure how I would feel about seeing Ashley Williams this week. I have to be honest here, she's not usually one of my favorites. She brings on a lot of what I perceive as nervous energy on screen. But it was certainly a feel-good story with some supporting characters who needed some of that feel-good energy to rub off on them. So, the movie opens with a surprise going-away party for Natalie, played by Ashley Williams. The party was thrown by all of her neighbors who live in her building in Miami. They're a close bunch, not something you see very often these days. Natalie gives a speech about what it means to her to love thy neighbor.
The phrase, love thy neighbor, is more than just something crocheted on a pillow.
And I know we're only a minute and a half or something like that into this movie, but that statement right there, it really spoke to me. I'm very shy in person, but wouldn't it be wonderful to live where neighbors treated each other like this, like family? Natalie's leaving because she's starting a new job with Carnegie Mellon in 6 weeks, and it's located in Pittsburgh.
Oh, well, the university set me up with a condo.
So, right after the opening credits, we see Natalie pulling up to her new building in Pittsburgh. At the same time, she meets Mark, the building super, and right away we learn just how chatty Natalie is and how uncomfortable that is for Mark.
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 Yeah.
The building is so...
He doesn't appear to like small talk and makes it pretty clear he just wants to get back to work. Next, we meet Sylvia. Natalie doesn't know it yet, but she's the president of the Homeowners Association.
Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sylvia. This is Lola.
And a stickler for the rules. Let's see, right off the bat, she tells Natalie no loud music and no cooking with garlic. Apparently the odor is too strong for her dog. And also there's no clutter in the halls, no exterior decorations.
And your doormat needs to be approved from the Homeowners Association. Otherwise...
But then Natalie finds out who Sylvia actually is when she suggests she can get the HOA to lighten up a bit.
I'm the HOA president. Welcome to the building.
Although in watching this a second time, I couldn't help but laugh that Sylvia was one of the few who actually got Natalie to stop talking. Was that mean? No, clearly that's how her character is supposed to be. The next neighbors from the building we meet are Liz and Hector. These two really don't tolerate each other well. Hector likes to paint, and he must get in her way a lot because Liz is quite upset that his canvas is blocking the mailboxes.
Hector, what is that?
It's for my new painting.
Oh, so we're just painting in the lobby now?
No.
And although she's not introduced to him yet, she also meets Chuck, who we see sneezing, and, well, the whole lobby is just chaotic.
I can help you organize it. I'm Natalie.
Great.
It's not quite the building harmony that Natalie had just left behind in Miami. Something about Natalie is she's always offering to help literally everyone she meets. It's almost an obsession with her.
You're kind of obsessed.
So this next scene is just perfect for Natalie's character. She's walking down the street when she encounters a CMU student, which happens to be the university where she'll be working.
So we're looking for volunteers for Pittsburgh's annual Walk to End Alzheimer's.
Well, Natalie doesn't start her new job for 6 weeks, and she's always looking for something she can do to help, so this is right up her alley. And it's here where we meet Linda, who's coordinating the event.
Hi, I'm Linda.
Hi, I'm Natalie. Nice to meet you.
Linda truly is a sweet character. I know some people may find this to be perhaps too much niceness.
Yeah, it felt autumn-y.
Autumn-y?
Autumn-y?
I love it.
But I honestly didn't mind it at all. Although this next part made me a little uncomfortable. Natalie has a big heart, but she can also be way too much. And I thought she crossed a bit of a line here. Mark walked by the Alzheimer's volunteer desk and declined, politely though, to offer any help.
No. Sorry, but thank you.
Now, I'm not saying that was the right or wrong thing to do, but for Natalie to chase him down and scold him for walking away, well, that was kind of awkward.
To go?
I think maybe I feel this way because she came across as judgmental, and I didn't care for that. Granted, the next scene at the coffee shop, maybe he deserved a little scolding. One of the other customers had just asked for some extra napkins, and right after that, Mark took what looked like the rest of the napkins from the dispenser.
Could I get some extra napkins?
So Natalie one-upped him by emptying the napkins on the other side and handing them to the customer who had just asked.
Thank you.
This scene was clearly meant to show us the stark contrast in each of these characters' personalities. Natalie always wants to help everyone around her. Literally everyone, whether they ask for her help or not. And Mark is very shy and prefers to just keep to himself. Although, wouldn't that be kind of weird to be in a restaurant and be handed some napkins by another random customer? Perhaps. What was also a little weird, but kind of humorous anyway, was Drea, the owner of the restaurant, when she talked to herself as an employee talking to her boss.
Why, that sounds like a capital idea. Thanks, boss.
It was about making some pies for a chili party that Natalie wants to host for her new neighbors in the building.
You're so weird.
Well, the party was a bust, and when Mark had to stop by to look under her sink, she tried to pry some more information about all the neighbors from him, because it makes sense that he would know everyone, being the super, and she found out he actually lives in the building too.
Like I said, I stay out of people's business, they stay out of mine. I don't like to get involved.
So the next morning, Natalie and Mark meet again, and they have a conversation where they're debating about which is better, taking time out for yourself or making time to help others. Mark says he's on call 24 hours a day doing things for other people, so he likes to ride his bike for some me time, as he calls it.
Well, I do this because this is something that is just for me. Maybe you should try it sometime.
Natalie puts a spin on it, though, and argues that since he never gets involved in other people's lives,
Right, so isn't it all me time?
and we can already start to see where this movie's going. Natalie wants to help Mark get involved more personally with the neighbors, and Mark wants to show her how to make time for herself. Well, back at the building, a little bit of mystery develops when one of her new neighbors actually snubs her nose at her and rudely walks away when Natalie tells her she just moved in on the 5th floor.
Oh, 5th floor.
Wow, that was harsh. And then she and Mark have the same argument all over again with, "Why do you care so much?"
I want to live in a place where people genuinely like each other.
And from this moment on, she is determined to help the neighbors somehow learn to like each other.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to take matters into my own hands then.
On day 1, she offers to give away muffins for breakfast.
Would you care for a muffin?
Yeah, that didn't work.
Got any takers?
Then that evening, she tried to offer some advice at the HOA meeting to help with a dispute. Nope, that didn't work either.
That's why we need the exterminator.
So on day 2, she met with the volunteers for the Alzheimer's walk. I didn't notice this the first time, but when I watched it again, I realized Linda didn't recognize Natalie at first.
I'm Linda.
Oh, Natalie, we met the other day by the pie place.
She brushed it off as no big deal, but it was a hint at things to come. Later at the diner, she was complaining about how much she wants to do and would love for someone to show her around the city.
It's like I need to figure out a way to be more efficient. I wish I knew the city better.
And that's when Mark walks in. Andrea strong-armed Mark into being the one to show Natalie around. While they were out walking around, she came up with her next plot to bring the neighbors together. Apparently, coming up on Saturday, everyone has to be out of the building for a few hours while the exterminators come. So, she plans on an outing to go leaf peeping.
We're going leaf peeping.
Yeah, I've never lived in an area where fall leaves turn beautiful colors, so I had to look that up. Unfortunately, yet again,
Nobody showed up.
I know she's pushy and makes people uncomfortable, which she even acknowledges sometimes, but her heart is absolutely in the right place. I know society today is such that her ideals may be unrealistic, but bless her for trying. Even shy, leave-me-alone Mark is warming up to her by now. He really knows far more than he originally let on, and he's got the perfect pulse on the heart of the building.
Said half of the building ignores each other and the other half actively dislikes each other.
Correct.
And he points out to her,
Is that what people get upset about is rarely what they're actually upset about.
All right.
aha, see, he's quiet, but he's a great listener. Something he can teach Natalie a thing about. Before that happens, though, she meets up with Linda again at the volunteer offices, and Linda shows her something really sweet. They made a bunch of pinwheel flowers in 4 different colors.
Flowers are a way to show your specific connection to Alzheimer's.
And it's here in this scene where we find out about Linda's condition. I almost choked up a little just watching her.
That's a picture of you.
The next few scenes are interesting because Natalie's instinct is still to charge right in toward her neighbors like a bull in a candy shop. She usually does all the talking, and she tries, or desperately hopes, that they'll listen to her. But what Mark does to intervene is just the opposite. He steps in and asks a question or two to get the neighbors to open up about something meaningful to them.
You're an artist. What do you like to, art?
See, it's all about listening. And only then do the walls everyone had built up around themselves begin to come down. Natalie gets a little better at this herself as the movie progresses.
It feels like the two of you are struggling with work-life balance, right?
So, for the second part of the movie, the relationships in the building are improving, and Mark even helps out Natalie a lot more with trying to help solve some of the problems in the building. Like, check out this bench he made.
Took a little of this and a little of that.
And Natalie focuses more of her attention on this Alzheimer's walk. It's a week away, and Linda's panicking because she lost one of the teams. And of course, Natalie realizes she knows a building full of people who might benefit immensely by participating as a team in this walk.
Well, I can get you 10 people, no problem.
Well, yes and no. In the end they do, but not without feeling like they've been used by Natalie just for this fundraiser.
This is no party. This was just an excuse for you to get us all here so that we could help you with your volunteer thing, Natalie.
And when everyone storms out, even Mark gives up.
We can't fix this. Some things are just too broken.
But you've probably guessed by now that that doesn't last long. Mark and everyone from the whole building do show up for Natalie, and the final scenes are really quite moving.
We like to make an entrance.
How did you do this?
So, final thoughts. There was some good character development. Mark and Natalie made an impact on each other's lives for the better, and I could really feel how much Mark was struggling with wanting to keep it professional with her, but he just couldn't help how he was feeling about her.
I know the building is where I work, and I know what happens if you get too involved, so end of story.
I'm going to come right out and say that he knew that as annoying as she could be at times, and yes, she was sometimes, she was still something special. And for that, I think Ashley Williams was a really good cast for this role. In the beginning, I mentioned I'm not always fond of Ashley Williams' characters. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a feeling she's probably an absolute sweetheart in real life.
People need people. There's even a song about it.
But I don't think that there's any denying that Ashley Williams smiles a lot. And I love smiling, but my critique of her is how the excessive smiling comes across when she's in front of a camera.
Just think.
Especially when she's constantly talking. It's like she's full of nervous energy.
No, don't even think about it.
I'm gonna make snacks.
Literally.
But you know what? I think this role suited her perfectly. I only wish that maybe she had toned it back just a little bit by the end of the movie as her character developed. Mark and her friend Drea were both helping her to, well, be more comfortable in her own skin. And I think dialing back the nervous smiling would have made that even more apparent.
Well, it's a good thing it's not a competition, because if it was, I'd be winning.
Not to mention, it would have made the final kiss look a little more romantic. Yeah, she was still grinning pretty wide even in the middle of the kiss. What can I say? So what kind of rating should I give this? I like the idea behind the story and the message about Alzheimer's. I honestly didn't think it was too much. Not like the PSA about bees and for love and honey. Now, that was too much for me. But let's talk about character growth. In the beginning, Mark was uncomfortable around others, and while he was very much aware of what was going on around him, for example, he knew which neighbors didn't get along, and he recognized patterns in their behavior.
We are waiting for the weekly argument that Shanti and Mira have over wet clothes left in the washing machine.
He intentionally kept his distance. I suppose he was a little bit rude in the beginning, like with the napkins when he took some for himself and didn't offer any to the next customer who had just asked for some napkins. But by the end, he was more willing to lend a helping hand, like something as small as passing the salt, which was really cute.
I know, I just helped them.
You passed the salt?
I did.
Or even on a grander scale, like making a new bench for the building, or helping to gather a team together for Natalie. I enjoyed his character development. Oh, and I appreciated the message that he shared with Natalie about how what people are fighting about is not always what they're really fighting about. Now let's talk about Natalie. She started out as being very pushy, and she made it a point to get up in everyone's business, uninvited to the point of being outright rude sometimes, whether she realized it or not.
Hi. Hi.
I wasn't doing anything.
I saw a few reviews from people who tuned out after the first 15 minutes or so because of this. I happen to see this as an opportunity for some beautiful character growth to happen, but I'm afraid not as much as I had hoped. To me, the movie focused too much on the message that she needed to spend more time caring for herself, which is all right, I suppose.
But you have to spend more time just for you.
But I wanted to see her learn more about boundaries and better ways to communicate. A great example of this was when Mark said no thank you to the student volunteering at the Alzheimer's table. I realized Mark's response was abrupt, but not necessarily rude, other than cutting her off before she could finish her pitch. I mean, how many of us feel the same way when we go out shopping and there are tables set up at entrances for charity or political causes, and we just want to be left alone at that moment? On the other hand, Natalie's response I found to be deliberately rude, the way she chased him down to chastise him.
Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Hey, Natalie from the building?
In my opinion, that was inappropriate and uncalled for. I'm bringing this up because this is the type of character growth I had hoped to see by the end of the movie. I wanted her to realize that there are far better and more appropriate ways to communicate with people than chasing them down and getting up in their faces. And I'm not convinced she ever really learned that by the end.
Wait, where are Zeke and Preston?
They were the lone holdouts.
Oh, well, I can give them a call.
She may have learned to enjoy some quiet time for herself a little more, but I don't know that that's really character growth. So I think for this reason, I'll give it a 3.5. That's not a bad rating. This movie had plenty of good things going for it, but I think I would have rewritten the second half a little differently if I could. Well, I think that wraps up my review of Falling Together. Next week, we'll be talking about The Real West, starring one of my favorites, Kimberly Sustad and Lucas Bryant. Personally, I can't wait to see this one. Until then, and as always, thank you so much for being a part of the Magical Movie Club. If you like this too and want to see more, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're interested, I have links to the preview video as well as the movie page for more details about Falling Together in the description below. I'll be back next week to chat more about our favorite magical movies.
Now. fun, right?
So fun.